Welcome to Shop Talk Series, the digital channel to explore SAP innovations in supply chain management and focused on digital manufacturing. It's about inspiration, insight, and innovation. I'm Ralph Lehmann with SAP. Today, we focus on environment, health, and safety. We have Michael Censurato with us to talk about trends and strategy. Michael is the Global Solution Manager for Environment, Health, and Safety based in the US. Hi, Michael. How are you?
Good. How you doing, Ralph?
Thanks. Very well. Hey, Michael. A couple of days back, there was Sapphire, and you gave a presentation coding this topic, sustainable operations. Can you elaborate a little bit on that, what sustainable operation is, and how does this impact to the market today?
Sure. So maybe a little bit of context first. The last maybe couple of years, we've seen a little bit of a shift in the market where there's been, it's really no secret. There's been more scrutiny from really all stakeholders within companies and even external companies around the sustainability topic, and how there's expectations that have grown around how companies need to perform, the level of transparency that is expected from companies, and even, let's say, maybe the public sector as well. And this kind of led to a lot of commitments that were maybe very broad, very long-term, very big, things like net zero by 2050 and things like that for carbon. And what a lot of stakeholders have started to realize is that those are great goals and objectives and long-term plans, but I think a lot of people are looking for a little more tangible, maybe short-term progress. And so we started to look at more of like the operational level. If we think about how facilities operate, what's going on at that level, at the shop floor. Sustainable operations, we start thinking about the manufacturing process, the production lines, shop floor employees, equipment and the asset management processes, workforce patterns, and other things like that again kind of make up all those process steps, all those things happening on the shop floor, in the facilities. And we think, okay, what can we do there?
Michael, so what is your vision then for how these environment, health, and safety processes are fitting into the operations?
Okay, so if you think about EHS as kind of a cross-function where there's some processes related to production, there's processes related to managing the workforce and keeping the workplace safe. There's compliance and regulatory reporting based on all that's happening. And so what happens is the EHS function, the EHS process, and kind of an extension, EHS software, like SAP EHS, ends up acting as kind of a data collector for a lot of, say, a lot that's going on, whether it's from the compliance side or energy consumption, things like that, or as a data source for sustainability reporting, workforce analytics, things like that. And so EHS ends up being kind of positioned in the middle, or maybe, again, kind of as this cross-function where it's helping drive operations, but it's also monitoring operations and making sure they're compliant and making sure that the necessary data and information is being kind of served up to all the stakeholders in a transparent way.
I think it's good not to see that as another silo like it used to be in the past. So everything is somehow melting together. We are eliminating silos and having one version of the tools with wherever the data is coming from, right?
Exactly. And it's just, if you think of the broadest definition of the sustainability topic or use case, where it's touching, at this point, it's touching all parts of an enterprise. Again, HR, operations, the corporate level, shop floor, supply chain. And EHS sits as one of those cross functions within those organizations. It helps to, again, kind of, where it's relevant, again, act as a data collector or as a data source, depending on what's.
Awesome. So, Michael, can you give us, I know that's a big topic with a lot of functionality and rich capabilities there, but can you give us a short summary of what is the SAP Environment, Health, and Safety portfolio about, and where are we heading to? What is the roadmap?
Sure. So we are comprised of, the SAP EHS portfolio is comprised of let's say 5 different, commercial products: incident management, health and safety, environment management, management of change, and then a product that's kind of housed within our plant maintenance process called work clearance management. So commercially, that's how it's structured. From a process standpoint, I would say that there's a focus around there's one focus around workplace safety, whether it's tracking injuries and environmental incidents, tracking hazards and assessing risk in the workplace, driving industrial hygiene, sampling campaigns, and tracking or kind of using that data to then drive what's called health surveillance protocols for the workers. So if they're being exposed to certain hazards, that the company is doing things proactively to kind of monitor that and do the appropriate tests and treatments and things like that to hopefully prevent illness and so forth. Another focus area would be the environmental side. There's a product called environmental management, which is comprised of the compliance tracking for permits and things like that. Also the emissions management piece, where it's not just greenhouse gas emissions, but also air pollution, wastewater, things like that. All the equations and the calculations are kind of managed within that emissions tool. And then finally, waste management, which was a kind of a newer product. We released kind of an updated version of that last year that kind of rounds out that environmental functionality overall. The focus there is around tracking the generation of waste, shipment and disposal, and making some of that data available, obviously, to the sustainability reporting as needed. And then the other 2 pieces, management of change, is kind of a process safety process where you're tracking, change requests, whether it's equipment changes, procedural changes, anything like that, and then driving that through a life cycle of approval, and then driving the actual activities to make the change and make sure the change is done correctly and safely and so forth. And then the final piece, the work clearance piece, that is, within, if you're doing maintenance orders and you have workers, you have operations teams out in the facility or out in the field, it allows, let's say, risk data, personal protective equipment, safety instructions, all those things, to kind of, promote safe work and a control of work. All that information is available from EHS through that work clearance tool to the maintenance order process. So that, again, 5 main functions, 5 main products there, and all of these share similar task management tools and real-time analytics. A lot of master data is shared across them as well. So it's a little bit of a platform approach if needed.
Perfect. Hey, last but not least, but I have to ask you this question. I heard that you were writing a book for Subpress about the topic SAP Environment, Health and Safety. Yep. Can you give us a little bit of background of this book and where can I find it? Sure.
Thanks for mentioning that. Actually, the book came out last week on the SAP Press website. It's at the moment it's just a PDF download, or let's say an ebook download in different formats. It's not a hardcover book at the moment. The idea was they approached me about 6 months ago, and we were able to get the EHS topic approved. So they set up a project, and I worked with the SAP Press team for the past few months to kind of write the manuscript. Main focus is on kind of giving a primer and an introduction to the SAP EHS portfolio. It's not meant to be like a consulting guide. It's more of a business introduction, a functional introduction of what's there and the value and a little bit of the roadmap.
Yep. Thank you so much, Michael, for joining today's Shop Talk series, right? And for sharing topics about environment, health, and safety. We will have in the future much more sessions together, I hope at least. And until then, thank you and cheers. Bye.
Thanks, Ralph.